There's one episode Angie Dickinson refuses to watch. Not because it was bad, but because it left a scar she never fully healed from. Before she was a Hollywood icon, before the fame of Policewoman, Angie was just a small-town girl named Angeline Brown, a quiet dreamer born in the heart of North Dakota. Her father ran a newspaper, her mother held the home together, and when the Great Depression hit, the family packed their hopes and moved to Burbank, California, chasing a future they couldn't yet see. But no one could have predicted that Angie, the second of 4 daughters, would one day become one of the most unforgettable faces in television history. Still, even legends have moments they'd rather forget. And for Angie Dickinson, what happened in 1959 was too personal, too haunting, something she never wanted to relive. That pivotal move to California would quietly set the stage for Angie Dickinson's unexpected rise to stardom, though at the time, no one could have seen it coming. In her early years, Angie was more focused on academics than acting, drawn to writing and storytelling, no doubt influenced by her father's work in journalism. After graduating from Bellarmine Jefferson High School in Burbank, she pursued higher education at Glendale Community College and eventually earned a business degree from Immaculate Heart College in Los Angeles. Her dreams? To become a writer or journalist, not a star. But fate had other plans. In 1953, almost by accident, Angie entered a local beauty pageant. She didn't just turn heads, she made it all the way to the finals of the Miss America preliminary competition. That moment of unexpected spotlight was all it took. Television offers followed, and her stunning presence on screen quickly caught the eye of casting directors. The writer's daughter from North Dakota was suddenly on a path to Hollywood, and nothing would ever be the same. Angie Dickinson's rise to stardom wasn't overnight, it was a slow burn marked by grit, charm, and undeniable screen presence. She made her film debut in 1954 with Lucky Me, a Warner Brothers crime drama, and soon carved out a niche in the world of westerns, a genre dominated by rugged men, where Angie redefined what it meant to be a woman on screen. She refused to play the helpless damsel. Instead, she brought to life strong, independent characters who challenged expectations and commanded respect. But it was in 1959 that everything changed. Cast as feathers in Howard Hawks's legendary western Rio Bravo, Angie starred alongside icons John Wayne and Dean Martin, and stole scenes in the process. As the clever, flirtatious gambler, she didn't just match her male co-stars, she outshined them, blending raw sensuality with sharp intelligence. That performance didn't just earn her fame. It cemented her as a force in Hollywood, fierce, feminine, and unforgettable. Angie Dickinson became a more dependable main lady in movies and TV shows during the 1960s and 1970s. She was in a lot of different types of movies, from the suspenseful psychological thriller The Killers in 1964 to the stylish heist movie Ocean's 11 with Frank Sinatra and the Rat Pack in 1960. She became close friends with Sinatra, which added to her allure as a beautiful person who seemed to fit in perfectly with Hollywood and high-class social groups. Also, Dickinson was never just pretty to look at, even though she was a star. Directors liked how she could show a range of emotions. People liked how deep and vulnerable she was on screen, but her most famous and important part was as Sergeant Suzanne Pepper Anderson in the 1974 TV show Policewoman. When it first started, the show, which ran until 1978, was very different from anything else on TV at the time because it had a woman playing a serious police officer. Dickinson won praise from critics, won a Golden Globe Award, and was nominated for several Emmys for her role as the tough but caring detective. More importantly, she made a lot of women want to become police officers and showed that a woman could handle a major event on her own. Policewoman paved the way for more police and action shows with women in the lead roles. Dickinson was still looked up to and respected in Hollywood in her later years. She kept playing occasionally into the 1990s and early 2000s, starring in movies like Dressed to Kill, 1980, in which her role as a sexually frustrated housewife won her praise from critics. In 2001, she was in Brian De Palma's movie Big Bad Love and made guest roles on TV shows. One of these was a cameo on Family Guy that showed how funny and self-aware she was. Dickinson kept the poise and elegance that made her a fashion star as she got older. She often went to film retrospectives and award shows to be recognized for her groundbreaking work in both movies and TV. Today, Angie Dickinson is known as a real leader. She changed the way women are portrayed in media by showing that female figures could be complicated, strong, and important to the plot of a story. Her impact can be seen in the actors who came after her, like Sharon Glass in Cagney and Lacey and Marissa Hargitay on Law and Order SVU. She shows that being smart and beautiful are not mutually exclusive, and that you need more than good looks to be successful in the long run. It comes down to skill, adaptability, and the confidence to play parts that go against the norm. Gene Dickinson was Angie Dickinson's first husband. Gene was a college football player who stood out on the field because of his strong physique and friendly personality. In 1952, when they got married, Angie was just starting to make it big in Hollywood, and Gene had just switched careers from sports to working in electronics. Even though they were a beautiful young couple in the 1950s, their relationship had problems when Dickinson's fame grew quickly. In the end, they split up in 1956, only 4 years after getting married. Even though they were no longer together, Angie decided to keep her married name, Dickinson, even though they got divorced in 1960. By that time, her growing TV and movie career was already closely linked to her married name. People in the entertainment business would come to know that name. During this time, Angie Dickinson also became close with John Kenneth Galbraith, a famous businessman and diplomat, and his wife Catherine. The Galbraiths, who were well liked in the political and intellectual worlds, gave Angie a look into a very different world, one of politics, diplomacy, and foreign relations. Because she was friends with the Galbraiths, she went to their house and later went on trips that made her life much better. The most important thing is that Dickinson traveled with the Galbraiths several times while John was President John F. Kennedy's ambassador to India from 1961 to 1963. Galbraith's memoirs, Ambassador's Journal, and A Life in Our Times go into great depth about these visits and events. Dickinson is named not only as a Hollywood star, but also as a thoughtful and interested guest, who really cared about the politics and cultures of the places she went. These interactions made Dickinson's intelligence and curiosity stand out even more, which aren't always seen in a field that values looks over brains. It was in 1965 that Dickinson married for the second time. This time, she married the famous American composer and singer Burt Bacharach. Bacharach brought with him a world of creative brilliance and musical innovation. He was known for writing many classic hits and working with singers like Dionne Warwick and Dusty Springfield. Dickinson and Bacharach were one of the most famous and talked about couples of the time. They were often featured in Life, People, and Time magazines. They were married for 16 years, which is a long time in the show business. Even though there were some problems along the way. Toward the end of their marriage, the couple had a time apart during which each person looked for love with other people. There was always something that held them together, and having their daughter made that bond stronger. Angie gave birth to their only child, Leah Nikki Bacharach, on July 12, 1966. They loved calling her Nikki. Nikki showed signs of autism from a very young age. At the time, though, most people didn't know much about autism, and the standards for diagnosing it were still changing. Dickinson and Bacharach devoted their lives to caring for her, going through a difficult journey that was hard on an emotional, medical, and practical level. Nikki's life was hard because she had problems with her mental health and her situation limited what she could do. It was Angie who stepped up to be her daughter's main advocate and caregiver, missing many work chances to address her needs. Nikki tragically killed herself on January 4, 2007, when she was 40 years old. She left behind parents who were heartbroken and had worked hard to give her comfort and security. Dickinson later said that this loss was the worst thing that had ever happened to her. A broken heart that she would never fully get over. Burt Bacharach died in 2023. Their daughter's life had a big impact on his work and life. He left behind a lot of music and complicated family ties. A new friend, singer and songwriter Billy Vera, best known for his emotional hit, At This Moment, became Angie's new boyfriend in the 1980s. Their relationship was less serious and more artistic. In fact, Dickinson was in Vera's 1981 music video for the song, I Can Take Care of Myself. The video showed Angie not only as an actress, but also as a strong, mature woman who wasn't afraid to accept pop culture and her lasting appeal. Their time together was short but important. It was a turning point in Angie's life where she got involved with the entertainment scene again, but this time from a more modern point of view. Later in the 1990s, Dickinson started dating another famous person. This time, it was the famous talk show host Larry King. King was well known for his grave voice and straightforward way of asking people. He hosted the long-running CNN talk show Larry King Live. People saw Dickinson and King together at public events, and they quickly became one of the most talked-about couples in the news. Even though they didn't get married, they respected and admired each other in their relationship. King often said nice things about Angie's brains, beauty, and energy. She liked his sense of humor and analytical mind as a writer. Even though they broke up, they stayed friends and talked positively about each other in interviews. Even though it came out decades ago, famous actor Angie Dickinson has said that she still won't watch Rio Bravo, the 1959 Western classic that was a big turning point in her career. Many people think Rio Bravo is one of the most famous Westerns ever made in Hollywood, and it has a special place in the hearts of many fans. However, Dickinson herself can't bring herself to watch it for very personal and emotional reasons. She doesn't want to watch it because she criticizes herself for how she played a young actress in the movie and because it brings back memories, especially of her co-star, teen hero Ricky Nelson. When she was cast in Rio Bravo, Angie Dickinson was still a rising star in Hollywood. There were a few small parts she had played on TV and in movies before Rio Bravo, but it was her big break when she played opposite John Wayne and Dean Martin. Feathers is a passionate and charming gambler played by Dickinson who falls in love with Wayne's character, Sheriff John T. Chance. Sharing the screen with such famous names was both scary and exciting for a young actor who was still finding her way. While making the movie, Dickinson often felt doubtful about her acting skills and worried that she wasn't good enough to match the acting skills of her strong co-stars. Her opinion that her performance was rough and uneven stuck with her for years, which is one reason she still finds it hard to watch the movie. But Rio Bravo's inner complexity doesn't end with how hard she is on herself. Angie Dickinson doesn't watch the movie because of the late Ricky Nelson. Nelson played Colorado Ryan, a skilled young gunslinger who teams up with Wayne and Martin's characters. Nelson was only 18 years old at the time. At the time of shooting, Nelson was already well known for his music and his part in the family comedy The Adventures of Ozzie and Harriet. Dickinson was in her late 20s, even though they were not the same age. They became friendly and trustworthy on set because they were all working on the same high-stakes, high-budget Hollywood movie. Dickinson has talked about Ricky Nelson with love and nostalgia over the years. She has often called him a kind, gentle soul whose quiet charm and natural ability made him a joy to be around. Dickinson will always remember the terrible way he died in a plane crash in 1985, when he was only 45 years old. And watching Rio Bravo would mean seeing and hearing the voice and face of a young man who seems stuck in time. She remembers him not only as a co-star, but also as a shining star who died too soon. To Dickinson, the pain of that loss is still fresh, so seeing Nelson again when he is young and full of potential and innocence is too much. When it comes to Dickinson, Rio Bravo is bittersweet because it captures a certain time in her life and career, a time of youthful hope, professional insecurity, and personal finding. Watching the movie might imply revisiting now not most effective the highs of working with legends like Howard Hawks, John Wayne, and Dean Martin, but also the doubts and uncertainties that plagued her as a young actress navigating a male-dominated industry. The experience, though ultimately foundational to her future fulfillment, stays bittersweet, a reminder of both how some distance she came and how much she needed to undergo along the manner. So, while audiences may additionally preserve to celebrate Rio Bravo as a masterpiece of the Western genre, Angie Dickinson has made peace with leaving it in the beyond. To her, it is more than just a movie. It is a deeply emotional time tablet full of private triumphs, lingering insecurities, and the haunting memory of a young man taken too soon. And for that reason, she maintains to keep that unique episode of her existence unwatched. After decades of quiet reflection and protected privacy, Angie Dickinson, the enduring actress whose luminous profession spanned more than half of a century, has finally damaged her silence. Approximately Ricky Nelson, a call that conjures reminiscences of the golden age of rock and roll and early TV stardom. For years, rumors and hypotheses swirled round their connection. However, Angie, recognized for her grace and reticence, chose to hold the details locked away, shielding both her personal recognition and the reminiscence of the overdue singer. Now, at the age of 93, she has decided that the time is right to proportion her angle, shedding light on the truth at the back of their relationship and the emotional complexities that surrounded it. Angie's choice to talk brazenly marks a significant moment, not only for enthusiasts of traditional Hollywood and antique rock, but also for the ones who have lengthy famous her potential to preserve dignity amid the swirling gossip of Tinseltown. Her revelations come with a deep sense of maturity and reflection, portray a nuanced photo of a time when the pressures of repute and the needs of the leisure industry fashioned non-public lives in profound methods. She remembers the youthful exuberance and magnetic charm Ricky Nelson possessed, his handy potential to captivate audiences each on screen and in concert, and the sincere kindness that made him liked by such a lot of, which include herself. But Angie additionally touches at the darker realities, the loneliness behind the highlight, the strains of celebrity existence, and the inevitable heartaches that came with loving someone so continuously in the public eye. She describes how their paths crossed at a pivotal moment in both their careers and personal journeys, developing a connection that became as extreme as it became complicated. Her reflections delve into the demanding situations they faced, the misunderstandings that arose, and the deep appreciation that continued even after their relationship shifted into the world of reminiscence. Through ultimately establishing Up, Angie gives a heartfelt tribute to Ricky Nelson, no longer simply as a mythical entertainer, but as a man or woman who, like all and sundry, navigated love, loss, and the look for which means. In recounting those reminiscences, Angie additionally acknowledges the effect that the silence had on her own life, how keeping her emotions personal formed her experiences, and how in some methods it has been a form of safety and survival. Now with the expertise of age and angle, she embraces vulnerability as energy, allowing fanatics and historians alike to glimpse the person behind the headlines and the character. This rare glimpse into her coronary heart and thoughts, is an effective reminder of the complexities of human relationships, especially within the extreme, frequently unforgiving glare of repute. Ultimately, Angie Dickinson's selection to interrupt her silence is an act of courage and style, a testament to her enduring spirit and her choice to honor the truth. It invitations us all to reconsider what we assume we recognize about the lives of celebrities, urging compassion and expertise in vicinity of hypothesis. Through her phrases, Ricky Nelson's legacy gains a new size. One that celebrates no longer simply his wonderful expertise, but the elaborate, often hidden emotional tapestry that defined his life and people who loved him.